Join me as I welcome our speaker to talk about meaningful, memorable, and measurable, decoding the next decade of digital. Join me as I welcome the Director and Chief Marketing Officer at Amazon India. Please put your hands together for Miss Anuradha Agrawal.
Morning. My God, these lights are bright and it's a small room. Can we dim these a little bit so that I can see people who are listening to me? Okay, we'll start. Hey, thanks very much for having me here, and I hope the next 20, 30 minutes add some value to you. When I got invited to speak here, I was asking myself this pertinent question of what is the next decade for digital marketing? And my thought was, if someone asked me this question 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago when I started my career, would I have been able to estimate what the next 10 years of marketing would have been in the early 2000s? And even if I was estimating it, would I have ever imagined the pace of change of how we're doing marketing, where we are advertising to our customers, what tools are we using to plan media, what tools are we using for creativity? I mean, in the early 2000s, we were still talking about, I want better measurability for outdoor media, right? And the solutions being given to us from agencies were, I'm going to have a car which will have a camera on top of it, which will pass by 5 times a day taking pictures that it is up. So you got measurability of execution. And then those pictures will be downloaded and time-stamped, so I will know at what time, what was the density of traffic by pictures of the road. Can you imagine that? Like, can you even begin to imagine asking for that measurability and getting that? And I thought it was super cool. At that time, I thought it was super cool that I could actually figure out how many people are on the road when my hoarding is going up. There is no way that I could have imagined a world in which we have millions of people glued to the tiny screen in their hands, and that's going to determine whether they buy my brand or not. We thought that getting people glued to the 30-second, 60-second television advertising was the big deal, not realizing what the attention economy will do. So, can I tell you anything about the next decade? Very unlikely. What I can tell you is the tools that I've kept, that I have, and maybe not even tools, just some principles I live by, which have hopefully not made me a dinosaur yet. Because I think the biggest challenge we have as marketeers is losing relevance because we age as our customer becomes younger. And to be relevant to the customer, to be relevant to the medias that they are operating with, it's not just about knowing the Gen Z lingo, it is about the behavior change and the impact that new media is having on how they buy. How do you keep yourself relevant? And that's really what maybe I'm saying 10 lessons, but they're my lessons of what I've learned and what I think is happening to the world today. So let's start. I'm going to say very provocative statements. Please don't take them out of context. I mean, I work for Amazon. We measure everything. My page zeros today have, just page zero. The first things we see have 50 lines on them. 50 points of measurement to figure out whether my campaigns are working, whether I'm delivering the right media to the right target audience. But I'm still saying that measurement is a trap. We're a small set of people here. Do you know why measurement is a trap? Why is it a trap? No answers? No, because you believe moving metrics is your job. And when you get some high, some little greens on some little green shoots, as we call them, we feel really happy. That's important. An extensive measurement of where the consumer is, what they're buying, where they're seeing your advertising is critical. But I think what it does, it's also giving you the responsibility of judgment. Because then you have to decide, amongst all the things that you're measuring, which is the one thing that's actually impacting behavior and outcomes. what is the one thing that you're actually making a delta change to? So, like I said, I asked for better measurement, but I didn't know that what it will finally mean is that I will apply even greater judgment in metrics that were being given to me. So what are the metrics? So lots of metrics on performance marketing, lots of metrics on digital visibility, lots of metrics on consumer engagement. The decision very often with the marketer lies with, what do I apply? Where do I apply pressure to get the right outcome? It's a little bit like having a hose, right? You want to create, like वो होली पे we play, right? उसको आगे thumb रखना है कि पीछे से पकड़ना है is a choice that you have to make. And that's the measurement trap. We have to ensure that we have the right judgment. Again, provocative statement. How many of you use performance marketing in your marketing plans? Or are doing performance marketing companies which are telling marketers to use performance marketing, right? I use a lot of performance marketing. Again, we are Amazon. We use a lot of performance marketing. When I say performance is renting, what do I mean? Performance is renting space in the consumer's mind for a short period of time, for just one little instance. But brand building is creating long-term value. Even in today's world, even in the best of the digital marketing worlds, what you have most memorability for. And maybe I would have started this, I'll end with it. Think about it as I'm talking about the one campaign that you remember, that you have memorability, not from yesterday, but generally, in the last 5, 7, 10 years that you guys have been in the market, in the business. What's a memorable campaign? And that is where the performance marketing business only builds on your memory structures that you do through fixed marketing and advertising. So I'm just showing you like a piece of advertising that Amazon ran for a long time. We ran this basically because what was living in the consumer's mind rent-free was a perception that we are an international brand, that we're a global brand. But we wanted people to shop with us as if they're shopping next door. Because the whole objective was to give people the convenience of online shopping without having to walk out. Being able to get great deals, great value, great selection, all in one place. But if they kept thinking they were international, it comes with a baggage as well. It was positive, but it was also a baggage. So we ran this, even as we were doing performance marketing, to change that perception. So hopefully this will play.
पापा ऑनलाइन मंगा
ऑनलाइन में चिक चिक
चिक चिक चिक चिक नहीं क्लिक 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 अपनी दुकान पापा अपनी दुकान Amazon है ना अपनी दुकान
डील करे आजा डन हनी चूज कर क्या है तेरा मन हनी अपनी दुकान बेटी अपनी दुकान
दादाजी कर लो फुल इत्मीनान ओरिजिनल यहाँ है सब सामान अपनी दुकान दादा अपनी दुकान सेम सेम डबल डबल मिस्टेक नानी लौटा दो एक विद नो परेशानी
अपनी दुकान हजे अपनी दुकान Amazon है भाई अपनी दुकान अपना भरोसा अपनी दुकान अभी Amazon ऐप डाउनलोड करें
Now after, like we're in 2026, this ran in 2016, 10 years later. And it's like, I'm thinking, my God, even Amazon has been advertising for 10 years. 10 years later, this feels like it's so obvious, right? But if we hadn't worked on this or built perception around it, there's no way that the consumer would have shifted the amount of offline experience and offline shopping that they've shifted and the amount of trust and love that they've given to Amazon. So I think what I'm saying is what I was telling you, that performance harvests demand, but brand creates it. So please make sure as marketers that you've got this really good balance of doing both. And you can't really harvest demand before you create it. So if you're in a situation where you're starting, and I have another slide coming up later which will tell you that maybe it's not an either or, maybe it's not a first or second, but make sure that whatever you're doing is creating demand for your brand and product and not just like getting that click, not just getting CTR, which I think is the metric that I was telling you can be a trap. This is another interesting learning for me. Distribution is the new creative. Like a lot of people here, sitting here, will be looking at how many touch points that I have. When I was creating advertising maybe 15 years ago, we used to say, let's create a key visual. Have you heard this name, this word? And the key visual would get splattered everywhere, in every touch point. It would be on static, it would be on digital banners, it will be on posters that we used to have put up in stores when I was in FMCG. The world today has changed to relevance based on point of distribution. The reason we talk about creators and influencers having such a big role to play in our lives is because they talk to the audience in the world that they are consuming it in and through messages that they are curating for that distribution channel. So as marketers, we cannot rest on, I've got this big idea, I've got this big advertising idea. You have to change your storytelling for every single thing. When I told you performance is basically renting, that doesn't mean that every single nudge is not important. And I've just got some examples of what we do in Amazon, right? Like search rankings can change revenue, right? Checkout, what you show at checkout can drive habit. And consumers will come back basis what you're showing at checkout, what is in the search. So in marketing, your job is not just to get the customer to love the brand, it's also to ensure that they have adoption, they have purchase, they have repurchase. That's how you will get growth for your business. It's very important that you take the full funnel and decide what you're saying at which points of time, and it cannot be your big idea alone. And that's why this element of the creative matters, but where you're placing what message is very, very important as you're planning for life. I'm dealing with this right in the beginning. AI, what is it going to do? And I know that this is a question that's in all our minds, and we've been thinking about what is it going to do to marketeers? What will juniors do? What will seniors do? This is a core belief for me. AI will compress the middle. It will compress the need for too much supervision. It will also compress the need for execution. But it cannot replace strategy, strategic clarity, and creativity. So please ensure that you are building skill. As all of you young people or in the middle life of your careers, ensure that you're building the skill to provide that clarity. That your skill is not just managing execution. That your skill lies in knowing why you do what you do. And that's not, I mean, it's a way of growing, but it's also a way of doing personal growth, but it's also a way of ensuring your brand has long-term clarity and not the schizophrenia that you can see with the kind of moment marketing world that we live in. And I'm not against moment marketing, so my next slide is really just that. Finally, not finally, but we have to reward outcomes and not outputs. I'm again coming back to the same thing. Don't get driven by intermediary outcomes. Those are great ways to review whether you're doing the right thing, but finally you have to drive outcomes. So I've heard marketers over time, and I'm realizing that a lot of this tech world has this division of marketing and product management, marketing management, or business and strategy. If you want a seat at the table, you have to talk the language of capital, which basically means what's the outcome that you're driving? What is the outcome? So whether it's through measurement, not that CTR, not the brand health check, but actual impact on business is something that as marketers we have to measure. Because if we don't do that measurement, it is very likely that people think your job is just to create advertising, that you're a comms manager. And if you want to be a marketing manager, you want to have a seat at the table to make business decisions, which all marketing minds should have, then you have to talk the language of capital. I'm going to talk a little bit about culture, and we talk about, we've been told that culture is about what is happening right now in the market. And this is the moment marketing point that I was making. So there are a lot of brands, I'm sure you can think of brands that do really good moment marketing. Any examples that you can give me? Durex. Sorry? Amul, yes. So it's interesting that the word, who else? Mumbai Police, Delhi Police. Britannia, okay. Zomato. So, you know what's interesting? You've named brands who are consistently doing this and not naming any brands who by chance today I have a cultural moment, so I'll talk about it today, but tomorrow I'll move to something else. All the brands you're talking about have been doing this, whether it is static, Amul is a really good example, or it is digital. I mean, Amul and Durex are both, their ideas were born in the offline world, to Zomato, which is an online world. But that consistency is really, really important. So culture may move, and it'll move faster than campaigns. But for brands, it's really important to stay consistent with whatever you want to be in the long run. Of course, that doesn't mean that if the cultures change completely, you will be tone deaf and keep talking about something that was 50 years old, and that is reality. You have to be in line with your consumer, but you have to be authentic for a long time. Not pretend to be authentic in the moment, right? And I know some of these statements, when I hear them, they seem right and obvious. It's very obvious, yeah. It's obvious that you have to be authentic. But I'm not sure when you're looking at that advertising, in that moment you're asking yourself this question, hey, is this authentic to my brand? Is this building what I want to build on long term? And I think those questions are the ones that keep you relevant. Otherwise, maybe anyone can do another nice piece of viral advertising. It's hard, difficult, but you can do it, right? Okay, this is a very important lesson for me. I've been a proponent of the IDA funnel and how you have to start from the top, and we keep having these conversations of upper funnel, middle funnel, lower funnel. My provocation today is funnel is dead. Now that doesn't mean that the consumer decision making metrics is changing. It is just that it is not starting from some upper funnel of advertising and ending in shopping. Sometimes awareness starts at shopping. How many of you have bought D2C brands from Instagram? Clothes, shoes, cosmetics, right? Everything. Even earphones, right? Or things which are not even like things which you think are brands that you must build awareness about. What you have done when you're buying there is gone from your attention, awareness, from your awareness to decision making in one mixed up, very complicated, non-funnel sort of behavior. So the consumer is not doing funnel, and there is no first or later. Every single touch point is building brand. It is also helping decision making. It is also helping click-throughs and also helping shopping. So one of the things that I keep telling my team is I don't want to see performance marketing which will not look like my brand. And I'm telling you that it's very hard to do. Because performance marketing can look like the same everywhere except for your branding there. And I'm again saying performance marketing because actually this is the one thing that consumers see a lot of. They're always online, they're seeing search results, they're seeing creator results. But again, what your brand wants to be, every touch point needs to build it. If it doesn't do it, then you're losing the opportunity to do in the middle of the funnel, in this mess that the funnel has become, you're losing the opportunity to build brand along with build immediate intent, immediate action. So when you're aiming for action, make sure that you're also aiming for awareness and desire. And when you're aiming for awareness and desire, make sure that you're also doing action orientation, because somewhere it gets stuck between the two. So, I mean, in this messy funnel, like you can imagine there are lots of kinks. So, I mean, again, these are just sentences for you to take away, right? It's no longer about pushing traffic. We do a lot of traffic. I mean, I'm sure you all have measurements of traffic as an important part of what your deliverables are as marketers. But it's almost like when you are telling the customer to come, you have to make sure that there's no friction for that action. And that no friction for the action very often is not the marketer's job. A very large part of my job is to ensure that what I'm doing in marketing is landing to the right places in my store. When it is coming to the store, the consumer is seeing the right messages in the store, not the marketer's job, usually the product manager's job or the category team's job. But I have to ensure that this friction of purchase is removed from the marketing campaign. So again, marketing campaigns have to be end-to-end. Okay. How many have seen AI generated content of those babies who are talking and they're very cute and they talk about, right? I'm increasingly realizing that AI is becoming increasingly realistic, right? And of course, we are always worried about deepfakes and we're worried about like bad elements using AI to generate human-like imagery. But as marketeers, I think my bigger worry is that if we use too much of this, we erode trust. Not that, we're going to be super careful about not doing the wrong thing. The question is, all the AI-generated assets, is it going to build trust with the consumer? And I don't mean AI-generated advertising. I mean creators, reviews. We are all talking about them, but trust is a really scarce asset. And once you lose it, it's very hard to win back. So even as you do that, credibility is the only moat. If you lose that credibility, someone else comes in and takes it away from you. And I think that choice, as you use AI, becomes very, very important. Don't get me wrong. I'm the AI champion for marketing for all of emerging markets for Amazon. I'm getting my team. I use more AI for creation than my team does because I'm trying to get the team to become relevant, and even the young Gen Z people, because they've been taught to do marketing in a certain way, they're trying to do the right things. But even as we do that, to make sure that it is ensuring brand credibility, that is still ticking the boxes that we just spoke about in the first 7 lessons, is really, really important. So like I said, AI and all the measurement progress and all the technology progress actually puts the ball squarely back in your court. It makes you responsible for creative clarity, strategic clarity, high judgment, right? And ensuring credibility of your brand. Because no one else is going to do that. Because you can now create in scale. But the danger of creation in scale is coherence and consistency. So ensure that that part comes true. I get questioned a lot on these, and hopefully we'll get 5 minutes at the end for you to ask me these questions. When I joined marketing, marketing was equal to business. I was at Unilever. My whole job was to look at data and see whether, what my marketing campaign is having an impact on sale or not. Increasingly, marketing leadership has become financial leadership. It's linked to the point that I was talking about outcomes, but it's even more critical today because the money that you can spend, you may have intermediary delta CTRs and delta metrics. It has to finally come down to what is the unit economics. It has to come down to what's your outcome, what is your long-term value. In the digital world, that's really critical because now you have the ability to measure it. A lot of people I meet in management colleges and schools, etc., who say, hey, I like marketing because I don't like mathematics. I don't like accounting. I don't know if any of you are here and will be willing to raise your hands to say that I was that person. And I can tell you that I have used more data in my life. I today use more data in my life than I ever thought I would be as a marketer. I can do a full P&L. I need to know the whole financial system. So as a marketer, if you're keeping out of this, you aren't getting into the decision-making room. So ensure that you have an understanding of what actions you have. And if you want investment, you have to be accountable for those actions. My last lesson, and a quick video on what we did at Amazon. Amazon won a Cannes for this, so I wanted to show this to you, and it was done before my time, but it's very impressive. We were talking about how do you live in the consumer's mind, right? And I can't say this did that completely, because we have to be consistent with these things, and as people change, sometimes you lose that consistency. So it's really important, even as leaders change, to take what is good from the past into the future. But if you build meaning into the brand, the meaning is not just built through one campaign, it's built through many things. Campaign, advertising, credibility, creators, activation, events, all of that together on the same principle will probably give you that differentiator. So here's the...
गरम कपड़े रख लेना, इस बार ठंडा बहुत है।
हाँ जी दादू।
जब मैं तेरी उम्र में जाता था नकुल, सबसे ज्यादा डुबकियां मैं लगाता था, तेरी तैराकू रस्तों की अंकल से भी ज्यादा।
दादू, इस बार का कुंभ आप मेरी आंखों से देखना।
पक्का?
पक्का, प्रॉमिस।
ठीक है।
आप भीड़ ना लगाएं जो लोग
अजब गजब है, अजब गजब है रंग जगत के, मेल जोलिए न्यारा, मेल जोलिए न्यारा। आँखों से देखोगे तो दिखेगा गजब नजारा।
बेटा वो सब तो बढ़िया है, लेकिन ये बताए रात को आराम का क्या इंतजाम है?
ये देखिए बढ़िया इंतजाम आराम का।
अरे वाह, इन डब्बों से बिस्तर बना दिया।
कहीं देखा है ऐसा आराम का इंतजाम?
So, we spoke about Apni Dukaan, right? Being part of the zeitgeist of the Indian ethos at the time that the largest event in the world is unfolding was important, but we wanted to do it along with something that we know is core to us, which is our delivery boxes. That perception, it's funny, I've said many things in this. Even it's hard for me to believe that running this and investing behind this campaign actually gave us a lift in UP that we haven't seen for a really long time. Who would think that this meaning gives you business outcomes? You would think it gives you brand love, brand outcomes. But this actually gave us business outcomes because consumers start to believe that you are doing something good, you're doing good for me, and you are a part of my world, my ethos, my culture. So just attention is fleeting. We go after, we think it's the ADHD economy. I'm sorry for using that. My children tell me I'm not supposed to use ADHD lightly. So it is an attention deficit economy, but meaning is what is remembered. So, and we had this conversation just outside, so I'm saying it here. No one can predict the future. I definitely can't do it. I won't even be alive to see it. But as you navigate it, just ensure the following. Have curiosity. Amazon has a principle called learn and be curious. I can tell you that the thing that keeps us relevant is curiosity about what's here and now, not just looking into the past. I'm calling it data fluency, numbers, data, measurements, metrics. Know them before you can apply judgment. Don't think that this is only about some creative. My job is definitely not creative. I've made like 150 pieces of advertising in my life, right? But it has all been led through data and measurement. Cultural sensitivity, very important. I used to ask this question to people who joined my team in Unilever. I'm trying to bring that around me as well. How many consumers have you met when you're doing marketing? And I know that some brands, some businesses have this built in. If you're building a team, are you getting your team to actually spend 50 hours in a year, in a year, with people who actually engage with your brand? And if you're in B2B brands, it's fine. How much time do you spend understanding what your B2B client needs as opposed to selling? Selling time doesn't count for understanding time. So this element of cultural sensitivity comes from being in the consumer's house. Financial literacy is connected to the data point. Please don't think this is not your job. Very important to understand it because the outcomes change as the technology changes. And I know I'm calling it ethical clarity, but what I basically mean is what your business and brand stands for. Have clarity on it and build it with consistency. As long as you have these 5 things, according to me, whether someone can predict whether advertising will be done by bots or it will be done by actual robots, who knows? I don't know. You can't guess. But the only thing I would say is if you want to keep yourself relevant through this, and hopefully if I want to keep myself relevant through this time for the next whatever years that I will work for, I need to ensure that I'm curious, I have fluency in data and finances. I ensure that I know what's happening in the cultural world. And then finally, I have clarity on what I want to build in the brand. So that's it from me. Thank you very much.